Hey everyone, welcome to episode 2 of the GPP show. So we're back after about a 3 week hiatus. I feel like that's good enough considering I did promise a pretty irregular show. No guest again this week, but I promise you there will not be a GPP show episode 3 without a guest. And I'm going to try to mix it up, try to make it someone obviously in the fitness industry, but a little bit more out of the box than the typical GPP rotation. I don't even know who it is yet, but I'll say this. It'll be someone that I've never podcasted or done any long form content with before. But yeah, I thought I've had enough going on that it warrants hopping on and just doing another episode of the GPP show so I can catch up with everyone. Had a bunch of exciting things that have been happening in my life, or both in the business and then also in my personal life. So obviously you can see we're recording in a little bit of a different environment today. This is the living room of the new house that I'm living in. It's still sort of not under construction, but I'd say we're about 3/4 of the way through the move. Everyone's living here and everyone's bedrooms are set up, but it's more just when the kitchen's set up, it's just the living rooms and the office space is a little bit all over the place at the moment. So it's three dudes living here, including myself, and we all work from home. Well, two of us work from home full time, and then one of us works from home part time. The one that works from home part time also wants to get a little bit more into content creation this year. So I'm hoping that I'll actually be able to get a really good recording setup, at least for my YouTube videos. I feel like the slightly more casual setup with the shitter lighting sort of suits the vibe of the GPP show a little bit more. About a week or two ago now, I got to meet and hang out with one of my idols in the sort of weightlifting content creation space, Zack Telander. If you follow my page, there's a strong chance you already know exactly who he is. But if you don't know who he is for some reason, he was basically the first weightlifting YouTuber. And I would say he was the first English speaking weightlifting coach content creator to just put out a lot of super useful weightlifting content. Like the other names I can think of, like I'm thinking of names like maybe Max Aida was putting out good weightlifting YouTube content, but I think Zach Telander might have been the one that encouraged him to get into it a little bit more. And there was Cal Strength, but Cal Strength, it almost felt like the reason that they had a YouTube channel, even though the content was amazing because it was sort of an insight into high level weightlifting, at least in what was going on in high level weightlifting in America at the time and what that training environment was like. And there was some purely educational content that they did, but majority of it was just filming the team sessions and then a little bit of commentary over the top, but just like, very infrequent. Hey, this is how you get better at weightlifting style videos. Whereas Zach was the first person to just dedicate his YouTube channel to that sort of stuff. Every single video was like, hey, watch this video and you'll be a better weightlifter for it. And honestly, probably one of the pioneers of online weightlifting coaching as well, because he was probably doing it probably earlier than 2015, 2016. I don't know. There's probably someone rolling their eyes right now thinking of someone who was doing online Olympic weightlifting coaching at a decent scale in 2010 or something like that. But I don't know of anyone that was doing it before Zach. So not only someone whose content I've just enjoyed, for over 10 years at this point, but also someone who, from a content creator perspective, I look up to a lot and just like a bit of a pioneer in the space. Heaps funny that the reason we got to hang out was the fact that he was touring around with his band, though, not that he was doing a weightlifting seminar or something like that. So obviously, if you've been keeping up with Zach Telander, he is completely done with weightlifting and he's just fully pivoted into a music career, which has gone really well. Like, I think everyone who's paying attention to what's happening in music these days can see how the value of content creation, I mean, in any field, but obviously if you're in the creative space and you want to be a popular musician. So I think that's been a really transferable skill for him. He's also got way better at writing songs, which obviously helps as well. But we all just know that there's a bunch of amazing songwriters that don't have a big following and aren't really selling and aren't getting many listens on Spotify. So for the short time he's been in the space, Zach's got an insane amount of traction in terms of streaming on Spotify and being able to tour. So I think this was his second international tour. Maybe he's done more than that, but I know he's been to the UK and played shows there. Now he's obviously done Australia as well. I'm not sure how much of the States he's toured around. And so I hung out with him on 2 days. I think it was the Wednesday, like the day after he got into Sydney, just to sort of show him around Bondi and the eastern suburbs. And then went to his show and then went out on the beers after. It was pretty sweet though. Even though I was fairly confident he'd be a sick dude in real life, you're always sort of wondering that because you only sort of know this person through a parasocial relationship if you're just sort of consuming their content. Like we've had a few back and forths in the DMs. I think I'm a decent judge of character and also puts out more long form content. So I feel like, you get a better ability to assess someone than just seeing short form clips of them. And he was even cooler in real life as well. So that was really nice. What did we get up to? So I just met him at his hotel in Bondi, and then we ran down the main road, had a swim, Bondi Beach. Really nice day. Hit the outdoor gym, got a sick pump, and then just got on the beers. We rode those Lime bikes. I've never actually ridden them, but the ones that are just sort of attached to your Uber account, you scan a code on the bike, and it's just an electric bike that you can ride around as much as you want for like $1 every 10 minutes. Actually, I think it's a little bit more than that, but it felt pretty cheap at the time. And then just spent the rest of the day and into the evening just riding around, absolutely pissed through the eastern suburbs, crushing beers at various establishments. Also ran into Jai Glindemann, which was insane, out the front of North Bondi RSL. So few people might know who that is, but absolute core lord, pro surfer, doesn't compete on the world tour or anything like that. He's just a free surfer, just goes around the world constantly hunting for sick waves. Actually, I'm going to experiment with something here. I'm going to play a couple of Jai Glindemann's waves just so you can see who the character was that I met out the front of North Bondi RSL. Also, towards the end of the show, I'm going to go over my top 10 favorite lifts of all time. Or it was hard. Like, I only sort of sat down and wrote out the list about half an hour before I sat down and hit record today. So I might, this list may be amended in future shows. But yeah, I'm going to be displaying all the lifts to the left of me. So we're going high production here on the GPP show episode 2. So for me, that's two really sick celebrity interactions to kick off the year. Like Zack Telander, in my world, he's a celebrity. And then Jai Glindemann as well, one of Australia's top free surfing talents. I'm not one of those people that gets lucky and runs into a lot of celebrities. Not that I'm into celebrity worship culture. I actually think that's kind of cringe, but it's cool to, meet people that you really respect. Last year, I probably had one of my best years to date. I got to see Volk in person when he received the keys to the city, and also ran into Anthony Mundine at the airport, which, for overseas listeners, really famous Australian dual sports athlete. Basically, the Bo Jackson of Australia. He was a really good rugby league athlete, and then he was on his way to becoming probably like a really good world champion boxer. But just as he was starting to break into the US boxing market, he made some really controversial comments about 9/11, and it kind of ruined his international career. Controversial bloke, but he's an Aussie sporting legend. Speaking of boxing, I also did my first paid partnership sort of brand deal with my Instagram account. I've ranted about this topic on the podcast before, but I always just get the worst emails from the worst companies trying to do brand endorsements with me on Instagram. Like the best ones in terms of money are the online casinos, but obviously I could just never do that because I think online gambling is a huge problem in our society. Like I'm generally for people doing what they want, but especially just in Australia, not just online gambling, it's an extension of the whole gambling industry. And even though Australia currently is the biggest per capita household loser in terms of gambling per year, I know in the US online gambling is starting to become more rampant due to influencer marketing and things like that. And this is why other influencers have started to speak out about it, which is really good. They can afford to pay you compared to, and this is the thing, it doesn't matter what space you're in. I'm in strength and conditioning, and online casinos are reaching out to me. It's not just like the Nelk boys, degenerate YouTubers, degenerate fitness influencers, even. It's literally anyone with an audience. They can just pay so much more than any, let's call it like a relevant, industry relevant brand deal they could do. So, for example, as someone in S&C, a lot of protein companies are always reaching out to me saying like, "Oh, we'll give you a code, and then for every tub of protein that you sell, we'll give you $15 or something like that." That's probably way higher than what people get. Maybe people get like $5 for selling a bag of protein when people use their code. I just say no to all those deals because the economics of it just never makes sense because I just make so much more money off selling my own coaching, selling my own educational courses. There's only so many call to actions or sales pitches you can do per social media stream per week. And all of mine are dedicated to selling my own stuff. I don't want to devote one to selling some protein. But KO, which is basically the biggest sports streaming platform in Australia, they reached out and they offered me 2 floor tickets to see Tim Tszyu fight Nurja. I don't know what his first name is, but Tim Tszyu, huge Australian boxer, sort of known internationally as well, but he's had a couple of losses internationally. So he's currently building himself back up on home soil. And I believe he's already in talks, or maybe even the fight. Someone said it was confirmed the other day, but that'd be ridiculous confirming another fight before you've dealt with the current one you've got coming up. People are saying he's in talks with Errol Spence Jr. for his next fight. So pretty stoked about that. I've never seen a professional fight up close before. So getting floor seats to an event like that, I couldn't be more excited for it. Actually, I was just checking my show notes and I missed an important part of hanging out with Zack Telander. And just something that I was pretty inspired by. It's also sort of relevant to the whole brand deal content creator conversation. Because when I was packing my bag to head up to Bondi to hang out with him, I thought to myself for a second, oh, should I bring the GoPro? Like, it's such a good opportunity for me, just sort of selfishly, to make a vlog with Zack Telander featured in it. That in the thumbnail on YouTube would go so hard. And who doesn't want to, if you've been consuming someone's content for over a decade, who doesn't want to then like collaborate? I didn't want to do like a full blown collaboration, but I thought maybe especially if we were going to train, I could vlog aspects of the day. But then there was this competing thought. I was just sort of visualizing pulling out my GoPro as I met up with him and just seeing him roll his eyes, be like, "Oh, come on, man! I just wanted to hang out as friends. Don't try to use me for content." Anyway, this is just me completely overthinking the situation. I ended up not taking the GoPro. Not that there would have been much. Not that there would have been much of the day to vlog anyway. It was just yapping. Like we worked out for a bit, but it was mostly just us crushing beers and riding bikes around. And this is saying that this was a wake up call for me because this is something that I'm personally always lecturing coaches in the GPP level one community about because I help them developing their content creation. And so much of what I'm always drilling into them is just repetition, consistency, and volume. As much as there are tactical things like understanding top, middle, and bottom funnel, understanding how to develop a hook, understanding the first 3 seconds, understanding just basic editing, how to get a shot with decent lighting so things actually look high quality, having decent pacing if you want to make a reel that goes longer than 20 seconds, knowing whether a piece of content is more appropriate to be delivered as a reel or a carousel. All of those things are really important. Just like when you're talking about getting good at squatting, there's so many things that you could point out and say are important aspects of going to squat 300 kilos one day. But the main thing is just doing a lot of squatting. The same way, if you want to get good at content creation, yes, you need to know yes, you need to understand and apply all the things that I previously mentioned. But the main thing is just being consistent with a certain volume of content creation. Not that it needs to be 2 to 3 posts every single day like Zach. I tell people just try to do one a day, and coaches freak out like that's some gargantuan task. And it is at the start when you suck at content creation, and it is if you have an attitude that it is a certain way. The same way we lecture, especially if you work with Gen Pop, especially general population fat loss, like lifestyle sort of coaching, where you've got to get someone to become a health and fitness person so they can sort of keep this weight off for life. You've got to fundamentally change who they are a little bit, or at least fundamentally change how they view the gym. Be like, no, it can be a part of your life. It can be a hobby. It can be this enjoyable thing. You're also going to form a more positive relationship with it when you get better at it because you're going to get this sense of progression and humans innately enjoy that. I'm kind of getting off track here. Specifically, what I thought was really cool about Zach is without hesitation, he would just make and post a reel while we were hanging out. So it wasn't just me and Zach hanging out one on one. I'm sure he still would have been doing it then, but we're hanging out, me and Zach and the rest of a few of his bandmates. So there's a group of us. So it's not like he was just barring me one on one while he knocked out a reel in 10 minutes. He's just got so many reps in that he's doing it seamlessly. It's just sort of Zach slipped off and for 10 seconds to set up the camera and you haven't even noticed. And he's just filming a 10-second clip of everyone hanging out. Then he's just going to put a little quote over to promote one of his songs or his tour dates. And then boom, that's one of his posts done for the day. Or maybe it is a little bit more invasive than that. Maybe one of his bandmates needs to say a line or like play a role in one of the reels. And the way he just does it, but doesn't make a big deal out of it. Like he's not ashamed about it. He's not like, oh, well, I know this is weird, but can we please just do this? I'll be super quick about it. He just snaps into action. He's a weapon, so he gets it done quickly. And not that I'm even saying if you're a coach who just wants a little bit of an online following so they can help you get a couple more online leads to build an online coaching business. I'm not saying you need to be out making reels about bicep curls and just general coaching and fitness content when you're out on the beers with your mates. No, I'm showing you the equivalent of a 400 kilo squatter in terms of content creation abilities, and maybe you just want the equivalent of like a 200 kilo squat. But it's a pretty serious squat, so you need to understand a little bit about squatting. There's all these conversations about how many followers you need to run a successful online coaching business. If you're a decent coach with decent retention, I think you need like 2,000 followers to have a decent amount of leads sort of coming in on a regular basis for your online coaching business. Not just from referrals from other clients that you're getting results for, but just random strangers becoming familiar with you and then over time wanting to apply for coaching and things like that. For me anyway, that's when I sort of started to get a sustainable amount of online leads coming through. I sort of had 2K followers, and not that it's not even about the number, it's more about the momentum. But it's not like I was growing the account that quick. Like it took me like 9 months to get my first 300 followers when I started posting content consistently. But that's why I always stress to people, like you just need a little bit of momentum. And again, you get the momentum and the consistency just through a certain amount of volume and just commitment to the process and ultimately just integrating it into your life. I'm looking at Zack Telander as someone where, I need to be sort of taking from him and looking at where he's at with things. You guys, you need to be looking at where I'm at with my level of productivity, or not necessarily the last 4 months, but especially where I've been for the last 5 years. Actually, sorry, last 2 months. I've been amazing with the long form content. I just haven't gone back to every single day posting with short form content, but I'm building back into that because it is just the way to be, especially speaking to short form content. And if you buy GPP level 1, I will hassle you. Maybe not to post every single day. I'll see if I can bully you into that, but I'll at least get you posting 4 to 5 times a week and I'll force you to be consistent. And I'll help you through the technical and the production side of things, and I'll help you develop your hooks. But ultimately, so much of the process is just driven by accountability. I think that's one of the biggest, sorry for doing a little bit of a sales pitch. That's one of the biggest aspects of value that I feel like people are missing about GPP level 1. Yes, all the lectures are amazing, but it's the ongoing application of the all just everything, the coaching content. But one thing in particular, if you want to make your money back from the course, is getting into content creation and getting coached by me in the Discord there. Anyway, Zack Telander, mad lad. Look up to him massively in terms of what he did with YouTube and weightlifting content creation. Awesome to hang out and crush beers with as well. We've now reached the part of the show where I give you guys a bit of an update into where I'm at in terms of my training and my fitness goals. Also, I know it's been a little bit of a salesy episode, but my coaching slots are open. If you have S&C goals, go to my Instagram profile, fill out the form in my bio. As far as the end of the track season, I planned on doing a bunch more of those just weekly track club meets, but I actually did something to my hip because I'm not gonna lie, I ate too much and I let my weight blow out a little bit too much after the cut. Actually, you know what? Even though I did gain the weight, I'm not gonna blame that. I'm more gonna blame the lack of any sort of sprinting I did over 20 meters. That's probably why I hurt my hip in the back end of that 100 meters. But just decided to call the sprint season because I didn't need to be doing weekly max effort hundreds. Oh, to be fair, could have used the race experience, but I just should have taken it way easier in my first one, and then I probably could have survived the season running sub-maximal hundreds just to get sort of the race experience and the block experience. Anyway, you live and you learn. There's always another year. But the point I wanted to make generally, because obviously now I'm not going to get a chance to run a timed 100 meters until September this year. Where I have messed up chasing down this sub 1200 meters isn't like the volume of training or the drills or where I'm at with my technique or where I'm at with my physical qualities. Or maybe it's a thread of all those things. But what it is ultimately is I have just been way too casual about this goal. Not that for people listening, some of you put me on a pedestal athletically. Some of you think that I absolutely suck. You just hang around because I give out good coaching tips, which that's the main thing. I want you to follow me for the coaching education and like the tips on training. Regardless of what you think of sub 1200 meters, with where I'm at 12,600 meters, it's gonna require some dedication, especially just getting into sprinting, in my 30s. It's not a ridiculous thing to shave zero point 0.6 of a second. I mean, not that I've even done it in a year. It's not ridiculous to at that level of sprinting, I think, with some of my other physical qualities and just general training, it wouldn't be that ridiculous to get down sub 12 seconds within just one season. I've now failed to do it for 2 years straight, and it's not like it's ridiculous to make that level of progress, but it is ridiculous to expect that level of progress, not taking it that seriously, always going away on surf trips, taking massive breaks away from the track. Not necessarily the acceleration work, but definitely anything over 20 meters, anything that resembles max velocity. Even though 20 to 40, when you're half decent and when you want to run the time that I want to run, should still be acceleration. Then you layer on top of that the body composition and the weight gain that I experienced over that period. That was a ridiculous ask to expect the sub 12 to fall into my lap when I was heavier, not dedicated to my sprint training, all in on just the lifting and traveling around for surfing. And that's why I'm confident that I am actually going to hit it in September or sometime over the summer when I start running timed again at the track club or going out to meets and running 100 meters there. And even though there's just been, little bursts like a month or two of dedication over this sort of 2.5 year period where I've been chasing this goal, there has not been an extended period of focus. So that's why I'm getting the weight where I want it to be now, and then I just want to maintain it over the winter and into track season. It's going to help with surfing as well. Just I'm a little bit too heavy to be in the sweet spot for my surfboards at the moment. So I've been in a good place with my calories the last couple of days. So I'm actually down to like 85 at the moment, but I want to get down to a good 81, 82, maybe, depending on how things go. I'd be absolutely shredded at 80. Like everything's based on how I feel and my performance levels and things like that. Well, I'll get into the weights in a second. So that's the plan as far as track. Just actually make it a focus. One of the things that's massively going to help with that, on top of making it a bigger part of my training, uh, getting my body composition and my weight in a better place to achieve that goal. But the move actually put me, the track is now about 1 kilometer from my house. So I'm further from the beach, which is bad for the surfing goals. I'm still really close to the beach. I'm just not on the beach. But I'm on the track basically. I'm, a 10-minute walk away from the track. Whereas previously it was taking me like 40 minutes to get to the track, or maybe even a little bit longer than that. Because I can train acceleration in the gym, at least early acceleration, and so that's really convenient. But just it was too inconvenient on a lot of days with my work schedule to get my max velocity work in year round. Now that I'm living so close to the track, that's going to help a ton with that. So dedicating my training, orienting my training a little bit more around that, way less strength focused goals this year, only really worried about my Olympic lifting and just general hypertrophy. Nailing my body composition, living closer to the track, being dedicated to the goal, just thinking about the goal and orienting my training cycles around it just for the whole entire year. As far as the weight training side of things, I've finally finished the glute specialization phase. I'm continuing with the lat emphasis because we still haven't full stacked the lat pull down. And honestly, I'll probably just be focusing on my lats for the rest of the year. I can't imagine my lats getting so big to the point where I think I don't need to make them a focus. Whether it is just a general weak point on my body, but I also think it's going to help with paddle power. So the other big experiment I'm running with my training currently is with the squats. So squatting 2 times a week, but it's just pendulum squats. I might throw some front squat singles in, but I think at this stage I'm just going to stick to uh, doing the squats that are in my Olympic weightlifting. So doing a lot of clean and jerk at the moment, 2 days a week. But all the other squatting is just going to be in the pendulum. And I want to see if I can get back to 140 kilo clean and jerk just with pendulum squatting. Well, this is the thing. I know that it's possible to pendulum squat my way to 140 kilo clean and jerk. It's sort of just how much do I have to pendulum squat to get to 140 kilo clean and jerk. So my current 5 RM on the pendulum squat is 75 kilos of added weight. Feels like a pretty heavy pendulum squat. And so this experiment, it's only really been going on for like 2 weeks so far. It'd be interesting. I would love to get up to a 5 plate pendulum squat on it, but at least somewhere between 4 to 5 plates, I think would have me like 5 plates would be nice to hit on a pendulum squat. I don't think that'll be necessary to get back to 140 kilo clean and jerk shape, but maybe with the less specificity, it will. Who knows how it's going to work out? But I'm pretty confident that it'll lead to some pretty nice squats. And I guess that's the whole point of running the experiment. We'll see how it works out, but I'm pretty confident that it's going to do good things for my squat and my weightlifting. Not that I'm even doing it for any sort of thought to optimization, just to sort of see if I can do it. Even though I have run the top set of a front squat or back squat, and then the back down sets in a machine squat. I've run that successfully with a bunch of clients, but I've never done just machine squat only and then see how you go hitting squat PRs. I don't know. See, I still think even if this experiment goes really well, I can see a high likelihood of me needing not a resensitization phase to barbell squatting, but just getting used to the axial. The weight is on your back in the pendulum, but it's still just the bracing demands just don't nearly feel as much. So I wouldn't be surprised if initially I can hit a lot of like really good rep work when I come back from the pendulum squat focus. I'll be really interested to see how the top end is immediately, but I'd imagine that it'd come up quite quickly as you just get that tolerance to that type of axial loading and that need for stabilization again. I think subconsciously as well, the squat is the one lift that I do notice dropping off a little bit when I'm losing weight. And think that the pendulum squat, I probably won't get the same deterioration in strength. But I also think it's just head noise. It's not like I'm trying to get stage lean. I'm just trying to get a little bit shredded, like no grabbable fat around my midsection or my lower back. The other thing that's been a big part of my training since the last GPP show, maybe I even spoke about it, at least on the GPP show, episode one, or if not on a few podcasts I've been on recently, is increasing my elastic volume. Or really, I should just call it increasing my plyometric volume, but especially of that sort of lighter to medium tier. We've always promoted a lot of medium tier or medium intensity plyometric training here at General Physical Preparation. But yeah, on the lighter side of medium even, and just trying to get just a ridiculous amount of contacts. Trying to be sensible with our load management still. Don't want to give myself a tendinopathy or some sort of chronic injury. Still trying to be smart, but really, and that's the thinking. The thinking is that you can get, most people can tolerate a decent amount of those exposures. Especially, I'm not new to plyometric training. I've been back into my plyos consistently for at least like 3 and a bit years now, I would say, maybe even a little bit longer than that. But obviously learning the whole time and just refining the application. And so getting into heaps of, I guess, what more people would call the extensive side of plyos, but then also filling it out, not just doing a lot of like leaps and lighter tier hops and bounds and locomotive style plyometrics. Well, these are locomotive. Also doing a lot of the sprinting drills, A skips, B skips, dribbles and things like that. Just like really bulking out my plyometric volume and my warm ups with those sorts of drills. On top of a decent bolus of leaps, hops and bounds always. But yeah, really enjoying skips, dribbles, even marches and things like that. Sometimes, like I said, marches, skips, things with like just a little bit of a quasi plyometric feel. And that's another thing that I've been talking about a lot as well, and practicing in my own plyometric training, not especially with the volume and the lighter side of things. Yes, making sure some of it is definitely plyometric, but not worrying what is and isn't plyometric necessarily when something's a little bit in between. If it's a deeper tier plyometric, or even just, a lot of people who aren't super athletic, when you put them on one leg, their ground contacts are definitely longer than what's considered technically plyometric. But functionally and practically, it's still plyometric enough, in my opinion. And this is something I take other coaches through by getting them into plyometrics, Olympic weightlifting, sprinting, and just sort of broadening their skill set. I was pretty comfortable and confident with the doses of plyometrics I was giving out to various types of athletes, general population, strength athletes, field sports athletes. And I still stand behind the 10-minute plyo warm up as a great way just to get people into plyometric training and to make it sustainable, especially having a little bit of a dose of it year round, especially for people who don't have much time to train. Amazing starting point, and maybe even a good maintenance dose for a lot of people. But the same way I was talking about on the GPP show, episode one, that I wanted to surf more than I lift because your body just, you got to think about this overall signal that you're sending to it. And if I'm lifting more than I'm surfing, and so much of it was not necessarily about lifting less. It was just about making the effort to surf more, especially when the waves aren't good. But then having the same realization about this sprinting goal, I need to be doing plyometric activities at least as much, or if not more than I'm lifting. And oh, look, you can just tolerate so much lifting. Well, not that I should be doing that much lifting because it does cause a lot of fatigue. Yeah, anyway, you can see the thought process. This is just where I'm at. I need to be surfing and I need to be jumping and bouncing around the gym or the track at least as much as I am lifting. I am such a meathead. And I love my lifting, and I still want to rip big weights, and I want to rip even bigger weights. But this year, that's taking a little bit of a backseat. We're committed to the surfing. We're committed to actually dedicating ourselves to this very achievable sub 12-second 100-meter track and field goal, or track goal. But yeah, it's just such an obvious thing. But it was just such an obvious thing. Just okay, I'm definitely strong enough to run the sub 1200. Is more strength useful? Sure. Like me getting stronger is still going to help me run faster, especially in acceleration where the ground contacts are a lot longer, relatively speaking. But comparatively, I am so garbage at the elastic and just the bounce sort of side of things. There's so much more lower hanging fruit there. So just it just seems like such an obvious thing to spend more time on that. And even when the tolerance isn't there, lower the intensity, build the tolerance. And so that's not even speaking to the increased max velocity and tempo work and upright running I'm going to do this year, but specifically talking about to the in-gym side of training. There is also going to be more actual upright running this year as well. That's just another obvious thing that's going to help me with that goal. Speaking to the surfing thing, I was yapping about how, I hold people accountable and I judge people when they don't, when they say they're going to do things and they don't do them. And I did launch Core Lord Performance, my surfing S&C brand Instagram page, but I haven't posted a single thing on it since I posted the introductory post a couple of weeks ago. So got the big dopamine hit from announcing the page, but just done that classic thing where I now complete the project that I was ignoring when I started the surfing S&C page. I still am fully committed to getting that page up and running throughout the year, and it will happen. I'm just being honest with where I'm at with it. But what it has made me do starting that project, it's made me lock in on two other projects that I was kind of neglecting a little bit, building out my one-to-one online coaching roster and getting consistent with my YouTube content. So here's me doing both of those things. Apply for coaching. If you're looking for a coach, fill out the form in my Instagram bio, and here's your long-form content that I'm being consistent with. We sustain this for a few months, and then I'll also be able to pick up momentum with Core Lord Performance. It will happen. And in terms of the amount of surfing I've been doing, I would give myself a B grade. In the moving week, that was really disruptive to the surfing routine and it was disruptive to the lifting routine as well. So I probably stayed in line with my values, and I don't think I lifted more than I surfed. I just didn't do much of either. But then this week I've been really good, and even on the days where I haven't surfed, I've gone down and checked the surf. Sometimes checked the surf two times. We're also arguably heading into the best part of the year for the Australian surf season, so very excited about the next few months here in Oh, sorry. Very excited about the next few months here in Australia for waves. All right, and that's the life update part of the show done. Now let's get into my top 10. I don't even know if there's 10 of these. I wrote down a list of lifts that get me fired up. Some of these are definitely in my top 10. Other ones I just sort of added in because I couldn't think of my legit top 10 because I've kind of put myself unnecessarily on the spot here. But I just wanted to just get something out as a current top 10, and I'm going to just flesh it out slowly over the next couple of sporadic solo GPP episodes. So this list will not be amended until at least GPP show episode 4, because GPP show episode 3 must have a guest on it. A cool and interesting guest, and a new unpredictable guest. Fair warning, this is a very Olympic weightlifting heavy top 10 list. There's a little bit of powerlifting in there. There's a few, I don't want to spoil it. There's a few squats, benches, or deadlifts. Even some of the power lifts in there are performed by Olympic weightlifters, but ultimately these are just lifts done in the way that get me fired up. All right, I just had a look at my actual list, and there's only 7 lifts here. So, but just going through the list may get the juices flowing. So this could end up a list of 10 by the time I get through it. It might stay at 7. Anyway, here it is. Number 7. Welcome to the show, Artem Udachin, first bloke to jerk 270 kilos out of the rack, and just a real, real super heavyweight, looking super heavyweight. The horniest thing about this lift, walking forwards out of the rack. Seeing videos like this, like I know these guys are working hard and this is just another day at work for them, but just being in a room with everyone just going to work, just crushing Olympic lifts, there is no better training atmosphere. Oh yeah, whatever. There's the equivalent in every sport, but it is such a great training atmosphere. All right, moving on. All right, continuing with the theme of first evers. Number 6 is Kurt Kowalski, who I believe was the first person to squat 1,000 pounds raw. So raw in powerlifting, knee wraps still considered raw. To my knowledge, not only was this the first 1,000 pound squat in raw powerlifting, he hits it for a double, which to my knowledge was not planned. I'm assuming going into this set, everyone thought it was just going to be a single. Let's see if the spotters go for it after the first rep. He fucking blitzes it too. That's why Kurt Kowalski, he's on Mount Rushmore because So hectic. Just in powerlifting, so many records are set. Not that this was done in competition or anything like that, but whether it's in training or competition, so often, especially on the untested side of powerlifting, people just squat high or don't fully lock out their deadlifts, or they get a quick press command and it just goes into the record books. Like I said, not that that's in the record books or anything, but just first ever 1,000 pound raw squat on video, just burying the shit out of it and hitting it for a double, and then just standing there with it at the NBA. Let me hold it. It's yeah, hectic. There you go. Little bit of a treat for the powerlifters. Okay, this brings us to number 5 on the list. So with the previous two lifts, they were historically significant. They were both training lifts, but just the clips also just get me really fired up. The way the lifts were executed, the atmosphere of the room, all the things. This next one, when you watch it back, the energy and the intensity of the moment, I feel like it doesn't necessarily fully come across. But the lift that he did in the competition that it was done at the absolute highest level, final clean and jerk at the Olympics to take out Lu Xiaojun, if you know, you know, Nihat Rahimov from Kazakhstan in the 77 kilo weight class, I believe it was at the time. Like Lu was just untouchable in the weight class. It was Lu and everyone else. The other thing that you need to understand about what was going on in the weight class at the time is as much as Lou was dominant, he was snatching way more than everyone, and he was just clean and jerking a little bit more than everyone. No one could touch him on snatch, but everyone was around the same on clean and jerk. But the world record in that weight class was like 15 years old, set by some Russian guy, not back in the day, but I think it was in the year 2000 or 2001 it was set. And this is it 15 years later in 2016. So many other weight class records have just been smashed over the last couple of years, but this one record has just stood up for ages. And what's unique about the clean and jerk world record? So it was 210 kilos. Maybe, sorry, it might have been 211 kilos. It must have been 210 because I believe the weight everyone was putting on the bar to break the record was 211 kilos. And that was the thing. It wasn't like people weren't going for this world record. It would go on the bar almost every single competition. Because either Lou would be taking a free shot at the world record, or someone trying to catch up to Lou's massive snatch would be just taking a Hail Mary shot at a world record clean and jerk. But just no one could nail it. Anyway, so you get to the day of the competition at the Olympics. Barely anyone even knows who this Rahimov guy is. It was one of those, if you know, you knows. It turns out that I believe he did win the previous year's world championships. But I was pretty into weightlifting in 2016. Like, it definitely wasn't a complete casual. And I hadn't heard much about Nihat Rahimov. I'd probably seen a few of his training lifts posted on Reddit leading into the competition. I think he even hit a 217 kilo clean and jerk in training leading up to it. But weightlifting's crazy. Like they'll be overweight, they'll be using fake plates, they'll be running massive cycles. Like you can't really pay attention to what Olympic weightlifters from certain countries are doing in their training leading up to the Olympics or World Championships. They'll show up a completely different human being. I'm absolutely butchering the timeline of this story, but essentially how the Olympics played out, Liu Xiaojun does his thing, goes out, chips his own world record snatch by a kilo. I think he snatched either 175 or maybe even 177. Maybe the Olympics was one of the few competitions where he didn't actually chip his world record snatch, but definitely snatched at least 175, three reds. Rahimov was 13 or 14 kilos behind, which is good when you're a big clean and jerker, but not when you're up against Lu Xiaojun, who's just a total specialist. From memory, there was also a bit of shithousery at this competition where all the other coaches colluded and moved up their opening attempts for clean and jerk. So that really shortened up Lu Xiaojun's expected warm-up time. So he had to open like I think he had to jump from like 160 kilos on his last warm up for a clean and jerk, and then sprint out onto the platform and rip a 200 kilo clean and jerk. I believe he missed his opener. He's still 13 kilos ahead of Rahimov, so he thinks that he's got the gold medal tied up with this 175 kilo snatch, 200 kilo clean and jerk. The massive total for 77 kilo class. Not only would Rahimov have to break the clean and jerk world record, he'd have to break it by 4 kilos to get the gold medal. And sure enough, the guy comes out and does it. A little bit questionable. Maybe a few people would argue he got a bit of a gift of a down signal, or even started dropping the bar before the down signal. But it's good enough to me. He got his feet in line. I think it should be instant down signal as soon as you get the feet in line. And the celebration's amazing. Yeah, like so that was so much story going into that lift, but I feel like it did need to. It required the contextualization because the clip itself doesn't look that amazing if you don't know what you're looking at. So upon review, this may get shifted higher because it is. Oh, is it the greatest squat of all time? It's not the heaviest squat of all time, but the combination of the seriousness of the weight and the way it's executed, Pat Mendez squatting 800 pounds. I mean, has anyone ever hit the hole harder? It's just, yeah, like this is how all in their dreams is doing a low bar, barely kissing parallel. This is, sorry, pointing the wrong direction. This is how we squat in our dreams. I don't know what else to say about that clip. That clip is probably why I didn't quit back squatting permanently. I think this is the clip that made me think I need to back squat again. Here we are, top two. So number two is Hussein at podium weightlifting. I mean, I don't know how long Hussein's time was at podium weightlifting. Hussein, I got to try to pronounce his last name. Hussein Pulikow. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. Anyway, insane junior talent in weightlifting. He's breaking all world records in training unofficially as like a 17-year-old. Barely makes these competitions because he keeps failing drug tests, but it was just insane watching him hit these lifts at this American weightlifting club. You'll also see a young Ian Wilson in the background of a lot of these clips. He was just so interesting because he's such an explosive lifter. But when I was becoming aware of this weightlifter, it was at the peak of Kelly Starrett and the whole knees out thing. And seeing a high level weightlifter move like this was just completely mind blowing to me. I'm not saying that this guy is the technical model to base all your weightlifting technique off. It's just such a phenomenal display of athleticism. So the particular clip that you need to watch if you want to get into this bloke's lifting, you need to look at the this wasn't him going for the world record because he did hit a 211 kilo clean and jerk in training at the Podium Weightlifting Club. You can check that out on YouTube. But the best clip to get into it, there's a bunch of awesome snatching clips, but there's a session where he's going for a 208 kilo clean and jerk, which may have been maybe the junior world record at the time. He was just trying to break it in training. But his uncle, fuck, was it his uncle or was it Ivan Armajev? My memory's a little bit fuzzy on this. I need to go back and watch the clip. But anyway, his coach could have been his uncle, could have been Uncle Ivan. He puts down like 100 American dollars. He's like, you got 5 attempts to do this, and then you get the 100 American dollars. And also, it may have only been 20 American dollars. Hyson as well, he doesn't make lifts look easy. He's a great lifter to watch because he's just gritty. Like a lot of lifts look heavy. He doesn't pull the bar high. He's just really fast. It's not pretty, just built for speed. But that's why it's so good. You just can't look away. It's so entertaining. It's not this pristine, like as much as I love Lu Jiajun, it's phenomenal watching him lift, such a crazy display of strength and athleticism. There's no way you can put those two together. That's also why I'm a fan of a lot of like the Iranian lifters, like just such an exciting style of technique to watch. Not that Hussein is Middle East, is Armenian, I believe. Anyway, he doesn't even stand up the first attempt to 208, but every single rep or every single attempt, he just gets a little bit closer, and then he just absolutely stomps it on his last one. The real thing I love about his jerk is the real short, snappy dip and drive, and then just like gets such a great shin angle on the front leg. Like he basically gets a negative shin angle, which is like, don't get me wrong, like you don't want a massively negative shin angle, but you definitely don't want a positive shin angle in your jerks. Like a lot of people want vertical, but slight negative shin angle is just chef's kiss. A combination of a short, snappy dip and drive. And this is the thing, this is why you shouldn't force everyone into the technical model or yourself of just the athlete you like looking at on YouTube. It's not for everyone. Oh, sorry, I get a lot out of a short dip and drive personally. Not that I lift anything like him, but you shouldn't force everyone into the shorter, sort of quicker dip and drive, but does work for a lot of athletes, and it's the sexier of the two techniques, in my opinion. Hopefully, I'm making some Olympic weightlifting fans out there. If you want me to get you snatch and clean and jerk up, or you want me to get you into the Olympic lifts, hit me up for coaching. Sorry, I think I incorrectly said that was number two. That was actually number three, Hussein at podium weightlifting. I know it's spelled Hyson, but I heard someone say Hussein, and that made a lot more sense to me. So apologies if it's Hyson. It's just the person who I heard read it out as Hussein. It sounded way more. They looked way more cultured than me. So for number two, it's not even any lift specifically. I mean, if you gave me them all side by side, I'd be able to point one out eventually. But I just wrote down Ali Reza, any cleaner jerk, 240 kilos plus.
Seconds. Hammers the clean.
Oh my God. If there was a beginner lifter who had his clean technique, you'd be like, no, like we need to sort this out. You can't just fuck the bar out in front of you. Not that he does, but he just hip smashes the bar. It just happens to somehow still go relatively vertically. But just all the bar crash that he tolerates and yeah, I'll show you him doing damage at 260, anywhere between 260 to 263 kilos. It's just, I mean, these are up there with the heaviest all-time competition clean and jerk is 266 or 267 kilos. One person has definitely done 270 in training, Lasher. But yeah, competition. Ali Reza is in the small club of super heavyweight males who've smashed a 260 kilo plus clean and jerk in competition. But just but everyone else, it just looks kind of heavy. Whereas Ali Reza, I don't know what his top end is. I just, there's with Lasher sort of being past his prime, in my opinion, I can't really identify. There's a couple of super heavyweights I can sort of identify who could potentially scrape their way to a 270 kilo cleaner jerking competition. Ali Reza's ceiling to me is. Uh, I want to say 300. Realistically, like 290. Like, look at it. Look at it. I don't even. Yeah, just look at what he does to suit 260. Maybe the bar crash just gets too much, but even the bar crash is insane at 260. That should just be spitting him out. Anyone else out the back? It's yeah, it's something else. Because Lasher was slick with it. I don't know if we can say that Ali Reza is slick with it. This is its own just crazy thing. And so, and it had to be pretty crazy to beat that, but that's what this last lift is. So this isn't a series of lifts, even though I could absolutely point out a whole few months or years of this person's career that is just absolute cinema in terms of lifting. But Ilya Ilin, squat jerking 245 kilos, which this kind of came out of nowhere. Anyone who watched his okay, let me just explain some weightlifting lore to do this justice. Ilya Ilin, one of the greatest weightlifters of all time, won, I think when he was 17 years old, won his first world championships. This is maybe in 2005 or 2000, somewhere between 2005 2008, 85 kilo world champion. Maybe competes a little bit longer as an 85, but pretty soon moves up to the 94 kilo class, wins a couple more world championships, wins an Olympics. Sorry, maybe he won his first Olympics as a 85 kilo lifter. But anyway, multiple Olympic champion. Didn't set any world records as a 85 kilo lifter. Probably set some junior world records, at least in the total, I would assume. But then as a 93 kilo lifter, set, I believe, the total, but then also the clean and jerk world record at 233 kilos, historic lift at the London 2012 Olympics. So Blake wins the Olympics in 2012. Lots of athletes love taking a full year off after the Olympics. Ilya does that because two huge back-to-back Olympic quads. But Kazakhstan, his home country, is hosting the World Championships in 2014. So not only does he only have 1 year if he wants to take a whole year sabbatical to get in shape for the World Championships in his home country, he also wants to move up from the 94 kilo to the 105 kilo class. Mind you, he has never been defeated in international competition. Always at the top of the podium when it's competing internationally. Just an absolute machine. And this was a time where, yeah, we had Cal Strength, but other than Cal Strength and maybe a couple of other weightlifting YouTube channels, there was so much mysticism about like, what do the top weightlifters really train like? Because at that time, Americans were so far off being like considered a top country in Olympic weightlifting, definitely through a much like slower downtime in American Olympic weightlifting. hearing all these secondhand anecdotes about, yeah, well, what is a Russian train like nowadays? What are the Chinese training like? And then it was crazy because Ilya Ilin uploaded every single training session. Even when he was doing tour days, he would upload all of the training clips to YouTube every single day for his entire prep into the World Championships. God, maybe it wasn't the whole year, but it was at least the last 3 months. It probably was like the last 6 months, I would say, just because the only reason I say that is because when he came back and started these YouTube training vlogs, he was in terrible shape for a world Olympic champion level lifter. Just seeing Ilya miss so many 140 kilo snatches, just being like, oh man, is he gonna win this world championship in his home country? God, this just should have been a whole episode because it was crazy as well. Because like just seeing the reality of an elite lifter's prep, because I get so much mysticism. Like, oh, what do the top weightlifters do? And you always hearing just old boomer coaches be like, oh yeah, this is what every weightlifter does. Good weightlifters never miss in training. They always cut the session there. It's just Ilya Ilyin missing the same weight like just 7 times in a row, just meatheading his way through the session. Like, hey, it's just like me for real. I haven't even got to like why this is so hectic. I mean, a 245 kilo squat jerk kind of speaks for itself. Oh, sorry, yeah. So a few times while Ilya's just going through the early parts of this training prep for the World Championships, he throws in a few squat jerks, but like none of them were above 200 kilos. I think they were all about like 170, 180 kilos max. World Championships come around in Kazakhstan, competing in a new weight class, hangs with everyone in the snatch. He's not the best snatcher. He's still elite snatching, but not like elite of the elite level snatcher, but manages to stay within a couple of kilos of everyone. Clean and jerk comes around, and there were, I believe, 6 back-to-back attempts at clean and jerk world records. The last of which was Ilya's 242 kilo clean and jerk, broke the world record by 3 kilos. Like I said, fifth clean and jerk world record, sixth clean and jerk world record attempt in a row. Just like insane session of weightlifting. You should go watch it. The Sickest Strength Boys do a phenomenal commentary of it. Just look up 2014 World Championships, 105 kilos, Sickest Strength, or you can watch just the regular session, but both of them are good. If you don't know weightlifting, the Sickest Strength Boys are good because they'll give you a bunch more context and they're funny guys. But even that 242 kilo clean and jerk, as crazy as it was, that's not the lift of Ilya's that I watched the most. The lift of Ilya's that I watched the most is his 245 kilo clean and squat jerk. Just ripped it out of nowhere. So he posted this after the World Championships, maybe even after the President's Cup, where he extended his world record even further and clean and jerked 246 kilos in competition. So adding 7 kilos to the clean and jerk world record in a very competitive weight class within a year period, and then just posting these filthy training lifts. So the series of training lifts was, I don't think there was a snatch in there. There might have been a heavy block snatch. He does love a heavy straps block snatch, don't we all? But he posted a 245 kilo clean and squat jerk and a 250 kilo regular clean and jerk attempt, or he just doesn't recover the jerk. But the clean is so crisp. It's all so crisp. It's just, yeah, watching that man clean and jerk. So much more I want to talk about Ilya's clean and jerk, but that's enough glazing for today. I hope you enjoyed my top 7 favorite lifts that get me fired up. This will be fleshed out to a top 10 list and it will be amended. Yeah, if you're still listening at this point in the show, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. Look out for another just regular YouTube video from me in a couple of days. And who knows when the GPP show will be back, but it will be back as promised with a guest next time.